The bottom line on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail is that it's pretty much like Napa Valley with wine tasting, except for it's not in California and you're drinking bourbon, you're not drinking wine. So there's a couple things we'd like to tell you if you want to go experience this. The first thing is that you should definitely book ahead, because if you're going to book the tours and the tastings, those get filled up pretty far in advance. You can definitely walk into the different bars and just have samples of the bourbon, but the tours are really interesting, and that's what we're going to show you in this video. The second thing is we wouldn't recommend booking more than 1 to 3 tours and tastings per day, for the simple fact that you are drinking bourbon and some of them are going to have you sample quite a few bourbons in one tour. Last but not least, you want to stay somewhere where you are walkable. Now, the Kentucky Bourbon Trail stretches miles and miles outside of Louisville, and you can attack this in a way that you see every single distillery and get your passport stamped and signed to prove that you've done the whole thing, or you can just go to Louisville, get an Airbnb or a hotel and stay right downtown and walk to a handful that are really fun, and you'll learn everything you need to know about bourbon in the most convenient way possible.
We go out for a beer, it's so clear when you're here, but we never get near enough. We drink and we dance, you don't give it a chance, is it really romance?
We really want to harp on the walkability, or booking something that allows you to walk to and from the distilleries. We booked a lovely little Airbnb. It was just maybe 5-6 blocks off of Whiskey Row, and it was great, with the exception of a minor problem that we had the first night with the couch.
We were having a great time and then the couch fell.
It's a dog.
But yes, if you can walk to and from your lodging to the distilleries, to the breweries, to the bars, to the museums, to the ballparks, you'll just make things a lot easier on yourself.
Our first bourbon tasting in Kentucky is at Old Forrester, and it's on Main Street in Louisville. You're good.
I won't be your backup call, 'cause for such a long time, my heart is on home.
Every distillery that you visit is going to have a very similar tour in the fact that they're going to explain the process to you and how you make bourbon and how it ferments, how it ages, etc., etc. But something that they had that was very unique compared to the other distilleries was that they had a cooperage, or at least a demonstration of a cooperage, and where you could actually fire an oak barrel so you can see how it's charred and toasted. And they had a great tasting, and they had these chocolates at the tasting. This is a chocolate-covered marshmallow treat, and it's so good that we bought extras to take home with us.
Try our single barrels at the bar. Today we're going to try 4 different batches.
I'm letting you go. I won't be your backup call, 'cause for such a long time.
In Old Forrester, there's also a bar attached that is separate from the tour. In fact, most distilleries are going to have a bar attached that you don't necessarily need a reservation for, though you should just check to see if there's some sort of a wait, because sometimes there is. So in this particular bar at Old Forrester, we were able to sample some bourbons that you probably wouldn't normally find. You just need to make sure you bring a friend with you that knows what they're talking about and knows how to steer you in the right direction on, hey, this is a really nice bourbon, because you might be tasting something that goes for thousands of dollars on the secondary market.
These are the high-end Old Forrester bourbons. So this first one here is going to be their birthday bourbon. It comes out once a year around September. It is supposed to be phenomenal, and it's probably my only time that I will ever get a chance to try it. This middle one is their 117 series. It's also a very rare one. And the end one is their President's Choice. Again, another super rare one. So,
and when your friend buys it for you and puts it down in front of you, you do not want to just throw it back and like, that was great, what was that?
So, I got this for all of us to try. So I wanted everybody to have the same experience that I did.
Yep.
The Evan Williams Bourbon Experience. I thought it was really neat. It was very curated, like a little Disney experience. They have a lot of CGI and artificial type things, and you got transported back in time, and you got to see how early Americans were a bunch of drunks. But that's just how it was, because that was the currency. Would recommend. The tastings were nice, the tour guide was nice, and Maggie was dressed the part in her dress.
Come on, man.
What do you sit on?
That's not shout. That's Advil.
Namesake.
We can watch it when we get back to the place.
I have shout. You gave it to
I think I brought some Thai.
Here we go. Shout. Shout.
Angel's Envy Distillery. I definitely have to recommend this one. It might have been my favorite for a few reasons. First, this facility is where they produce 100% of their supply. So it's not like the other tours where they're concerned with giving you a great experience and it's fancy and it's good to look at. This was like an actual distillery factory. It's hot, it's loud, it's humid, there's a lot going on. There's tape on the floor. Please do not cross this, don't touch that. But there's still a good amount of education. We got to watch the mash ferment in different phases. They even scoop some of the mash out and let you taste it. So you're looking at beer mixed with oatmeal. It's a very strange thing. I don't know if I would recommend you drink that regularly.
That distiller's beer until we're ready to send it. Yeah, thank you.
Cheers.
And then we moved on and we got to see the distillate, the actual bourbon, the White Lightning, the moonshine, and they let us taste that actually, which that was the only, I believe that was the only distillery where we actually got to taste the moonshine. So that was a really cool experience. And then of course the tasting room itself was very nice.
Recording? Okay, here we are. At the place. We just did the thing. Angel's Envy. You know what I like about Angel's Envy is that, and then you got to smell your hand, and it smelled like corn. What else? Rye, peppers and rye. That's one of the beautiful things about the Bourbon Trails. You can walk to these places. What else? What else, Michael?
Did you like your orange flavored chocolate?
Michael, say something for the audience. They know you. Yeah, just like straight up hardcore
First time I go through it's
bourbon.
red wine, the second time it's high wine.
Yeah. Stop! You're distracting me over here. I'm trying to do a thing.
Have you heard of Jim Beam bourbon? I'm sure you have. First thing I learned on this tour was that it's James B. Beam, and the B actually stands for Beauregard. So already been becoming more educated on bourbon, but they're one of the largest bourbon producers. So this tour is a little more touristy, a little more high volume, both in the amount of bourbon they produce at the location and in the amount of tourists that are on the tour with you, which is fine.
I'm squirting.
Oh my gosh, you made a huge mess.
My bad.
What I thought was most impressive, despite it being kind of touristy, was the amount of bourbon they're producing. So the still is twice the size of any still that we saw in Louisville itself. And whereas other stills were just kind of bubbling, oozing moonshine out, this was more of like a fire hydrant. Like, holy cow, they're producing a lot of bourbon. Overall, I would recommend this. The tasting of Jim Beam, they were pretty skimpy with how much bourbon they would give you, considering that it seemed like for the rest of the tour they had no concerns about spillage at all. Thanks for watching the video, guys. We've left some Easter eggs here on this table as I've been speaking to maybe give you some clues about the future videos on this channel. We are no longer on the East Coast of the United States, so our videos are going to be a lot greener, a lot bluer, a lot more mountains, a lot more ocean, a lot more waterfalls. Here's a coaster somewhere that's near us, and this is not bourbon, this is actually whiskey, but keep watching. We're going to have some cool videos of some cool things in the future. Okay, bye.